Hey guys, Dave from Florida here. In Ducktown, Tennessee, at the site of the Burra Burra Mine State Historic Site. The Burra Burra Mine was opened by the Tennessee Copper Company in 1899 and remained in continuous production until about mid-1958. It eventually was completely shut down in 1975, and it also served as the headquarters of the TCC and the city's service mining departments. So there's 16 remaining structures and a lot of other things on the site. So we're gonna slowly walk around and check everything out. So let's go. As we walk around here, we're gonna see all kinds of things that were used during the mining, different parts of the mining, or phases of mining. You can see all the different buildings that are still left. Go walk around all these and see what we can discover. So this is the main Burra Burra mine site, where they were from the Burra Burra Copper Company. It was formed in 1860, went out of business soon after the Civil War, and was acquired in 1899 by the Tennessee Copper Company. So this is what was called the shop. It was the repair shop. Also a blacksmith, repaired the drills. And this one was built in 1922. Basically the maintenance and support building for the operation. All right, so before we walk down to the bottom here in these stairs, the building in front there, the long building is the Hoist House, and the smaller one to the left there is the boiler house. You're gonna get a closer look at that in a second, but I wanted to show it from this angle before we walk down there. So these foundations right here were built in 1917. They supported the cylindrical ore bins, that's two words, that stored the ore from the mine. So, which kind of resembles that. Let me give you a little better look at those from a distance. The sun's not being very cooperative right now, but that's what's left of the ore storage area, or the ore bins. So this thing I'm standing in front of now, from front to rear, are pieces from the equipment from the local mines. So you got a what's called a power shovel on the front, a diesel mine locomotive, a compressed air powered engine, an ore car, and a second power shovel. So this tunnel looking thing I'm standing in front of is actually a walkway tunnel, and allowed the workers to get from the employee parking lot, which was located beside the boiler house, to the upper level of the mine without having to cross railroad tracks. Let's go walk through. So when you come up out of this tunnel and you're on top here, you do have this machinery they left here. But you can see here, this is where the original tracks would have been. Thus the walkway. A little safer than trying to run across road tracks. If you take a little walk, sorry, along the old railroad bed, there's still some other pieces of equipment kind of left abandoned out here. So this was just simply a crane, and it was used to lift the equipment from the railroad tracks to the top of the hill up here. This building here was what was called the change house. This is where the workers came in, and they had lockers, and they would suit up and get ready for their day before they headed down into the mines. So from this vantage point here, I'm standing behind the boiler house. If you see those houses across the street over there, these were constructed were homes for the hourly employees. So it was called mail order housing for some workers in both Ducktown and Copper Hill. However, most employees did not live in the company housing. However, they did own about 400 of these at the time, when the employment was peaked at about 2,500 workers during the boom years of the 50s. And now they're all privately owned. So this was called the Bid House, built in 1904. Was basically a shed used to shelter the first truck owned by the mining department. The Bid House. So the reason this is actually called the Bid House is because as the fleet of vehicles for the site grew larger and larger, they built parking garages at the top of the hill by the mine office, and then the floor was added to the shed in this building and converted for use in storing extra drill bits for the rock drills. All right, so the building in front of me is the powder house. So it was constructed in 1905, and it stored the dynamite and blasting agents used here at the mine. It also had an underground magazine that was used to store explosives, but it only held the amount needed for 1 week. So as I now stand back from a distance and show you the entire layout, you can see the powder house just in front of me here, the boiler room, or boiler house, excuse me, in front of me there, way off in the distance. Well, if you see this pit here, this was a baseball field. So during their spare time, the workers had their own baseball team named after the town, Ducktail. So if you're ever in Ducktail, Tennessee, come stop by and see the Ducktail Museum from the mining operation.